So on this week's episode of Be More Super, the podcast, we've got another great guest from SYFY's The Ark. It's Samantha Glassner. Samantha, welcome to the show, my love.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Do you know what? It's an absolute pleasure. And I've got to say, this show is getting better and better with each episode. And I don't want it to end. I know we're coming up to the finale in a couple of weeks. And I'm just crossing my fingers for a season 2 announcement, because I think this show has got so much more to offer down the line, because if the writing continues the way it is, it's just getting better and better. So before we talk about the Ark and we explore the Ark, it always fascinates me, the journey of becoming a storyteller. So why acting? What inspired you to take this amazing path, which is probably one of the most competitive industries to get into, but also, I should imagine, the most fun. So what got you onto this journey?
Sure. So when I was a kid, I did a lot of theater, like stage theater. I kind of discovered it. My parents put me in a class when I was 5. I did Annie. I was Miss Hannigan. It was the best thing ever. I fell in love with it. And I remember just asking my parents, how can I do this? Like forever. I want to do this forever. And my dad actually works in the industry, and he would be on set. He's a writer, director, producer, and he would be on set sometimes. And my mom would take my sisters and I to go visit him. And I remember after like a couple takes, my sisters and my mom would be like, okay, we've seen the scene 12 times. Like, we're good to go. We don't need to keep watching. And I'd be like, no, I want to stay. And I was probably 7 or 8. And I would just sit in the little cast chairs, like glued to the seat, watching these actors go and, do the takes again and again, and then, switch angles and do it again. And my dad was like, you can go, they're going to like do the same scene. They're going to this is how it works. And I was just like, I want to do this. And I remember like pointing to the actors on set and being like, how do I get to be like her? I want to do that. I want to tell stories. I want to figure out all the different ways you can choose to take a character or a scene. I was just in awe of the fact that, every take was a little bit different. And I was picking up on, the actor chose to do it this way this time. And my dad couldn't do, he's like, the 7-year-old wants to watch the take again and again and again, and it's the same scene. But I just fell in love with it. I remember sitting there being like, how do I get to do that? I want to tell stories like I kind of looked up to the actress. This was a show called Covert Affairs, and Piper Perabo was the lead. And I looked up to her, and I'd point at her, and I'd go, I need to do that. I need to. This is what I want to do with my life. And I think my parents were a little bit hesitant about having me like jump right into show business as a child. So I waited for a really long time before I got into it. But I think the more that I waited and the more I trained, the more I was like, I need to do this. Mm-hmm. I want to tell stories. I want to get to be different people and learn about different people. And I also have a psychology degree, so they kind of intertwine really nicely, because I'm really interested in like why people do what they do and just human behavior, all of that.
I mean, I've got to say, having obviously the industry already in the family must have been an experience in itself. And obviously being on set at such a young age, what a way to start learning your craft and start learning, what you want to do in life. And obviously your dad, Jonathan Glassner, that many will know, is responsible for a lot of, for Stargate and loads of other amazing shows. So would you say, having your family in the industry was a major part of you deciding to go into the industry? And when you said there was hesitant, I mean, have they really supported you and gave you advice and helped you along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that having my dad in the industry is a good part of the reason that I ended up doing it. And I think that's just because I grew up around it. I have a really wonderful, close relationship with my dad. And so just growing up, going to visit him on set and being around him when he's working on new scripts and ideas and I just as a kid was so curious about all of it. I wanted to know everything about the industry, all the details from the writing to the producing to the makeup artists. Like I just found the industry fascinating and I knew I wanted to be a part of it when I was older.
Mm.
And my parents have been very supportive of it now. I think when I was, 7 or 8, my parents' concern was just like they wanted me to have a normal childhood and like, go to school and not have acting become like my entire life at such a young, like formative age. So but once I got older and I was like, I'm really serious about this, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to study at university, they were like, okay, let's do it. And they've been incredibly supportive.
Mm. I
All
mean,
the way through.
obviously now you've decided to go on this amazing journey. I mean, do you have a plan in place in what you want to achieve, and do you have an end goal, within the industry that you've chosen?
Yeah, I think the end goal and what I want to achieve is I want to do projects that I feel like tell important stories.
Mm.
I want to be a part of that. I think that there are so many incredible, beautiful stories out there that are waiting to be told. And I think getting to share those stories, especially ones that are important and give people information about maybe a world they don't know about, an experience they don't know about. I just think that's incredibly powerful and important.
Mm.
So I want to be part of that.
And I think also being an actor and this storyteller, I think it's a great opportunity to provide, a bit of escape for people. Do you know what I mean? I think that these stories can help heal, can help entertain, can help, make people laugh. It's just a wonderful bit of escapism. It really, really is. But let's talk about the arc, because episode 8 is on tonight on SYFY. Obviously, this episode is going to be released tomorrow, so it's already been on. But for all the viewers out there, if you could just explain in your own words a bit about the show and whom you play.
Sure. So the show is set in space. Earth has basically, to put it nicely, kind of gone to shit with climate change and a bunch of other stuff going on. There's fires, there's all kinds of messy things going on, which my character kind of explains actually in episode 7 when she's introduced. And so Earth has basically decided we need to leave and go try to rebuild and restart somewhere else in space. So the ARC program is created to go do that, basically. And so the show centers around ARC 1, which is supposed to be sort of the initial arc going out into space. And something happens in episode 1, and the crew basically wake up early, way before they're supposed to be woken from cryo. And a good chunk of the ship is like missing. And so a lot of the higher ups in the crew are dead, which means that our main protagonists are kind of found in a situation where they're forced to be leaders in positions that they were not prepared to be. And it's kind of about that and how those characters work together and basically fight for their survival. And my character comes in episode 7. The crew of Arc 1 finds that there is another arc floating in space. They see Arc 3, and they decide to board and see what's going on. And they get on the ship, and everybody's dead. And they are wandering around trying to figure out what has happened, what's going on. Doors are shutting. People are getting locked in rooms. It's just mass chaos. Strickland finds his husband on the floor dead. It's a lot. It's very dramatic. A lot of stuff happening. And then kind of the end of that bit is when Lane sees my character running down a hallway and chases me and kind of pushes me up against a wall and kind of interrogates me. And that's kind of how we first meet her. Her and her friend Ross are the two survivors left on the ship. And he, if you've seen the episode, he quickly dies a couple scenes later. So then it is just Kelly. And she's kind of the lone survivor. And the rest of the episode, everyone's just kind of trying to figure out, who is this girl? Do we trust her?
I mean, your character in it is just absolutely awesome, because obviously we've had the same characters for like 6 episodes. So the fact that we've got now an arc 3, I think has changed everything. It's put everything on its head. Am I right in saying that this is one of your first jobs, like one of your first big jobs? Because on IMDb, this is on there. I mean, how exciting is it? Because I think it's the same for Ryan Adams as well, in the way that it's the first big job. So how daunting was that, and what attracted you to the role of Kelly? I mean, and were you nervous about going, onto this show?
Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly nerve-wracking, but also very exciting. And I am so grateful to have had that opportunity. Like, I could not have asked for a better first big acting job, or a better cast or crew to have worked with. It was absolutely incredible. I was especially lucky in the fact that when I arrived on set, there was immediately a very welcoming cast, kind of waiting to hold my hand when I needed it, give advice when I needed it, give hugs when I needed it. Like, I immediately felt very supportive. And I found myself really looking up to some of the actors who'd been in the industry for a lot longer than me. And they were always so willing to give advice, or even if in the middle of the scene, I was like, I don't know what choice to make for this line. Christy, do you have an idea? Richard, Reese, do you have an idea? Like, just even on the spot, being able to ask little questions. Or if I was having an issue with a complicated camera movement, like, just having help from people around me who'd been doing this for years and years and years I was so lucky to have been in an environment where it was okay to ask for help and say, hey, I'm having trouble with hitting this mark. Can you help me? Or do you have suggestions? Because I remember even my first day, I was kind of, the very first scene we shot, I had a camera moving around me, and I had to move as well. So the timing of the camera and my movement had to match perfectly. And then there are also characters coming in and out. So I had to be in the correct position so that they could be in the correct position. And that was like the very first scene I shot. And I remember being like super overwhelmed and just kind of turning to the older actors and being like, guys, help, any tips? What can I do? And just like, I'm so lucky because I could have had people who weren't supportive and patient with me. And the crew and the cast were so ready to be like, you know what, let's do another take. What if we do this way instead? Or why don't you try doing this? And just like being patient with me while I kind of learned some of the more complicated things that we don't necessarily learn in acting school.
And the cast, they just seem like one big family, which is really nice. And I've had the majority on the show, and they're just really lovely. They really are. So it's really nice to hear, more and more stories on how great it was on set and how supportive it was, especially, for yourself and for Ryan, that obviously are starting out in the industry, but is given that support, that guidance, which I think is fantastic. So we see Kelly rescued from Arc 3 and brought onto Arc 1, as you said, by Lieutenant Lane. But there's something about Kelly that doesn't add up. It really doesn't. And for me, it was the moment when she was telling Felix about his daughter. I wasn't believing everything. I thought there's something not right here. I mean, what is that character like to play, to get your teeth into? And how did you prepare for the role? I mean, what is your process in preparing for a role like Kelly?
Let's see. She's a fascinating character. And I think that this is something, without spoiling anything, something that you'll see the more you watch. Her character definitely, how do I say this without spoiling anything? Basically, there's a lot still to discover about her as a person. So it's a little tough to answer this question without giving
I
a
know.
lot away about the
I know. Your
series.
NDA right now is bubbling away, and
I know.
your dad will be on the phone straight away going, "What are you doing?"
What did you do? You spoiled. No. Um, but I mean, when I first had the audition for the role, I was only given episode 7, and I didn't actually know where things go from here. And I remember just finding her fascinating because she has so many different aspects to who she is. She's like the definition of a multi-dimensional character.
Mm.
And the first time I read her role, even just I mean being the bearer of bad news to everyone in episode 7, when she's the one explaining what Earth looks like and what's going on, like there's so much to her, and I think you can already tell that in episode 7. I think the fans of the show are already very aware of that. So she's just an exciting character to get to work on. She's also so different from me.
Mm.
And so as an actor, that's an absolute treat to get to work on a character who's living in circumstances that you would never be living in. And if you were, probably wouldn't be handling them the way that the character is. So yeah, I remember reading the initial audition sides and just being like, I need to do this role. Like, this character is fascinating.
But no,
Yeah,
that's also.
but
I read somewhere, I forgot the writer's name, because one of the writers on the arc, originally your character was going to be 2 people. I don't know if that's correct, but then they've put it into one character. So I suppose on screen, it's like you don't know which side of Kelly that you're seeing. If you're seeing the truthful side or the untruthful side. And I suppose there's always the truth beneath anything that you say, and it's just fascinating to watch, and I can't wait. When the show started and we had the murder, it was a game of murder mystery, and who would have guessed the killer, and the way the writing is, I'm hoping that Kelly isn't bad. I don't know, but who knows? We will find out. But obviously, this being one of your first big gigs, as they say, I mean, you must have learned a lot. What has been your biggest takeaway from working on this show?
oh my goodness, my biggest takeaway. I mean, this is gonna sound really corny, but honestly, that I'm doing the right thing in terms of my like career choice, like that I'm in the right place. Because I think when you're an actor first starting out, you kind of, you doubt yourself, and you wonder a lot. Am I good enough? Is this what I should be doing? Maybe I'm doing the wrong path. This is such a tough industry. Like, maybe I should just quit and try doing something else. And I think that's an experience that every actor starting out has to some degree. And I think getting to be on set and getting to do what I love, I walked away from this experience being like, this is what I am meant to be doing. This is what I love. This is what is fulfilling to me. I want to keep doing this. And I think that was kind of a huge, important thing just for me as a person and as an actor, to have that like reassurance that, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path, and that this is something I love.
I mean, many actors often say resilience is one of the biggest things about their job, and keep going forwards, because there are many actors out there that actually quit and then come back. I mean, in the news at the moment, Cameron Diaz apparently is quitting acting because of what apparently has happened on set with Jamie Foxx, but we don't know how much that is true because it's in the news, so it could be completely nonsense. Who knows? But no, I'm really glad that obviously you've confirmed that this is what I love, this is what I want to do, because you are very good on screen, you're very good in the show, the character is fantastic, and you're surrounded by such great actors like Reese and Richard and Christy and the rest. I mean, did they give you any advice, while on set, little words of wisdom for the future?
Oh yes, all the time. I could probably go on for 20 or 30 minutes with all the wisdom that I took away from them. It was as small as little acting choices that I hadn't thought of that were brilliant that I ended up
Mm,
using, to advice about the industry, and the more like business side of things.
mm.
Um, and I know that like if something came up and I had a question, I could reach out to any of them and they would happily give me answers and be willing to support me. And I'm so lucky to have that, to have people that I do consider to be role models for me, who I know that I can reach out to and ask for help when I need it, and get that good advice.
I mean, working on a show like this, have you kept anything as a keepsake? You know, when you finished filming, were you allowed to keep anything?
Yes, although it is a spoiler for a future episode, so I will not say what it was. But it was something that I saw on set one day in a specific scene that I was in, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And I remember when we started filming that scene, like talking to the other actors, being like, "Look how cool this is! Like the set department did this. This is incredible." And then when we wrapped, I like found one of the production people, and I was like, "Is there any chance that I could keep one of those?" And I
My
remember
bag is
her,
big enough. My bag is big enough. I'm sure it can get in there without anyone seeing
and
it.
it, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was such a random item. Like if I told you what it was, you'd be like, "Why did she want that?" But it was so cool. So of course the production team, they're so sweet. They were like, "I mean, yeah, if you want one, you can have one. We don't care." Well, like, but it was a little bit like, what? Why? Um, but yeah, I still have it, and I love it. And I think if I explained to you what it was, you would understand. But that is for several weeks from now when the rest of the episodes have aired.
And when I spoke to some of the other cast, I was quite shocked to find out that you filmed in Serbia of all places, where to me Serbia wouldn't be a go-to place, but apparently it's absolutely buzzing for TV programs and film production. What was it like when you got the role and you had to fly over to Serbia of all places? Did you go by yourself, or was there friends that went with you?
No, I was by myself, because my character's introduced mid-season. Filming
Mm.
was fully underway already, so it was a very quick turnaround. I found out I got the part, and I was in Serbia, I think 5 days later. So it was very fast. I just hopped on an airplane with one big suitcase and a carry-on, and just went, and was like, "Cool, new experience, exciting." Not a country I ever thought that I would ever be in, but one that I ended up really, really enjoying spending time in.
Awesome. And then one of my last questions is that if you had to sum up what we've got left to look forward to with Kelly on our screens in 3 words, what would they be? So without spoiling anything, 3 words to sum up Kelly's future episodes.
Hmm. Ah, goodness. This would be really easy if the whole show had aired. I'll just do for episode 7 and 8, which I think people have seen
They would.
by the time this is out. Mysterious, um, smart, what would the last one be? Mysterious, smart, brave.
Right. That's got me thinking now. I'm like, okay, brave. But no, it's been a great show so far. I cannot wait for future episodes. Samantha, you've been a great guest. You really, really have. It's been lovely to speak to you. Keep
Yep.
up the good work. I mean, is it a case of putting your feet up now and enjoying the show as it's out, or are you working on other things, or is it a case of relaxing and enjoying the attention, because it's doing so well on SYFY? I think it's the best performing premiere in 2 years. on SYFY, and Dean he keeps on posting these amazing figures of the show. I mean, so is it a case of you just enjoying all the reactions?
Yeah, I mean, it's both. It's back on the audition grind, as all actors often are after a job, but also getting to enjoy watching people react to the show. That's been so cool.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show, Samantha. Keep safe, stay super, and I look forward to episode 8 and the rest of the season.